They say that long-term or long-distance relationships don't work, and we have to apologize to our faithful audience. We've been away for 3 months. We took an entire quarter off, but we are so happy to be back. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Woo!
If you don't remember who we are the ethnically correct bunch gathered and convoked by the presence and the spirit of politics and social media and the reality of being Americans in 2017 here in the alcove of Santa Monica. Thank you for listening. Thank you for opening your doors once again to us. We are so excited and thrilled to be here. I'm Alex Venegas, your host and moderator, and my two beautiful queens, Winter White. How are you?
I'm doing so good. Thank you. So happy to be back.
Happy to have you. And Ms. Tehu Smythe.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to be back.
I've missed us because I've seen you guys in this hiatus, but it's good to be together and conversing about very important topics that are near and dear to our hearts. But before we get into the thick of our topic, a lot has gone on since we last spoke. But on a personal note, I just want to give everybody an opportunity to tell our audience, our faithful listeners, what you've been up to project-wise, life-wise, what has gone on in the story of Winter and Tehu so that people can understand, what we've been doing with ourselves for 3 months and why it's precluded us from getting together and hosting episodes. So let's start with Winter. What have you been up to, Miss Busy?
Gosh, so much. I started a new job in July that has really just been such a godsend and completely in the line of where I'd like to go with my career. I work for an early childhood development company. They create toys and learning materials for teachers and parents, and I'm training on things that are just a lot more in line with what I'm passionate about. So I'm super excited about that. Also, I have passion projects, so many passion projects, and Ethnically Correct is one of 3 passion projects that I have. I just started a business called the Hummingbird Village with some very good friends of mine, and really what we want to do is inspire people to live their best lives, and whether that's through life coaching or workshops or fun paint and sip events. We want to bring people together that have varying experiences in life and really just share and find that common thread between us, because we all have a common thread. We all have something to offer everyone. And I was telling you, Alex, I think people sometimes wait until they're certified as this, or, they have a platform on television or they're famous to feel like they have something to offer. And just in terms of our stories and in our lives, we all have something to offer each other, experiences that we've been through that can help another person. And that's really what the Hummingbird Village is, connecting those people with those stories and helping them help other people. So that's what I've been doing. And of course, this is still on the very top of that list of my passion project and wanting to get back into really giving you guys good content.
And also, you've had a remarkable weight loss story.
Yes.
You're like half of who you used to be.
I've lost 85 pounds and counting
Wow.
over the year.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And it
Wow.
has been so life-changing for me in ways that I cannot even explain. I mean, aside from the physical.
How incredible.
The physical, every single thing in my life changed after that. And it's incredible what feeling good about yourself and being healthy will do to you. It's still a journey, that's one of my stories that I hope I can help someone with one day. But it has been really fulfilling, and it has brought me to this wonderful place. So
That's fascinating. I think when someone achieves such a major milestone and feat, it's a compendium of so much energy and sacrifice, because I remember the first couple of months you were really struggling with the sacrifice of having to push away at the table because you're so confined to what you could eat.
Yeah.
But once you overcome that initial rising action, if you will, that upward trajectory of difficulty, it all sort of starts to normalize.
yeah, it does. And the biggest lesson I think in this weight loss journey to me is how completely connected our bodies and our minds are to our lives, and finding the connection in food and family and friendships and, mentally, how all of that is so connected. And that has been the biggest journey and the biggest lesson so far. So I just hope that through my journey and what I've gone through, ultimately, when I'm, going to tell you the story and how I got to this point, it can help somebody else, because it is really, truly connected. And it's not about being the skinniest. I'm still considered obese, technically, in the technical term, but I feel so much lighter, than I've ever felt in terms of just my spirit and my heart and my life and all of that. So, yes, we're okay.
And just to close that, I think it's the very first time that I hugged you that I felt that you didn't have anguish.
Really?
Your soul is at such a restful place.
Oh.
Yeah. I had to share that with you.
I'm glad you
like
told
on
me that.
live on live radio.
No, I'm glad you told me that. Yeah. I feel
Because
it.
I think before you were always in a state of anguish. And even though you're very exuberant and joyful, there was something in there that was pretty much always at the the point.
Yeah.
And
And maybe in conflict with myself, and I receive that, and I thank you. Thank you. All right.
again.
Bravo.
Thanks.
So Miss Smythe, darling,
Sweetie darling.
sweetie darling.
What have I been up to? Let's see. So I've actually been across the pond and having adventures across the pond. I went back to England and I was away in total for 6 weeks in the end. I was in England and I also spent some time in Ireland. It was interesting to be in the UK following the aftermath of Brexit. It's very interesting times across the pond as well as the US. I feel like they are dealing with that situation over there and making some decisions, hopefully for the better of the economy. But who knows at this point what will happen with any of the decisions any of our leaders are going to make. And then I was over to probably as far away as from California as you can think of, in India. I went to Bangalore and I went to seek a medical treatment there, kind of under the category of alternative treatments, which I feel that from a Western medical perspective, they were unable to help me because they couldn't find what was wrong, which is both good news and bad news. Incredible country, incredible treatment. I am very grateful to India for their wisdom, for their knowledge of medical science based in 5,000 years of history that is completely homeopathic, without chemicals, and just made from herbs grown naturally over there. And it was just an incredible experience. They're a fascinating country, but they're very spiritual people. They're very peaceful within themselves. They have a huge issue of poverty, which completely, has been been an issue in the country for many, many years. Yet they have a completely different perspective and outlook to life. It was fascinating. I mean, I was, thousands and thousands of miles away from the Western world, and it is a different world out there. People live differently. They think about life differently. Their whole interaction is very different. I was very grateful to India. I had an incredible time. Great experience. I highly recommend.
How long were you there for?
3 weeks in total. Yeah. And I was in Bangalore, which is, and I ate vegetarian food. And I was in some kind of mindfulness or meditation 3 hours of the day.
3 hours consecutively?
Yes, throughout the day.
Oh, throughout the day. Okay.
Throughout the day. And most days received at least 2 types of treatments. Massages included one of those every day. And I really felt like I came back to the West a new person. And I met the most incredible, wise people that side of the world who have fascinating perspectives on what we're up to in the West, because they may have never been to the Western world, but they obviously engage and they hear about it. Some have. And their perspective is fascinating. And one of the things I remember, one of the great yoga masters out there, by the way, yoga, guys, that side of the world has a completely different meaning than it does here. It's a completely different concept. It has a very spiritual base. It just has a different kind of meaning. A lot of things they do over here is not
So it's
even
not like
real
putting
yoga.
your leg behind your neck or anything like that.
It can be, but there's so many different types. That's such a different purpose, and it's very authentic over there. That's where it came from. It's very authentic. It's like everything over there. What you see is what you get. It's very, very authentic. There's a reason for everything. Sometimes I feel like we miss that over here.
And one of the things that I love about Indian yoga is that the people that are practitioners of it don't think of themselves as better than everybody else
Not at
because
all.
they do that. Whereas I think in the Western, especially the
Yeah.
LA yoga scene, everybody's like, oh, well, I do yoga and I'm very special and I'm better than everybody else.
I learned a
It's
lot
so
about
ridiculous.
chakras and your chakras being blocked and what the hell that even means. Because I wasn't a huge believer of all of these things. I kind of heard about it. I don't subscribe to it out here in Los Angeles. But over there it has a complete different meaning, and it was very interesting having it explained to you. And they said and I'll end with this. One of the famous quotes that I take away from India is, "When the West fails you, we turn to the East." And I remember that because that's precisely how I ended up in India. The West had failed me on some level.
Wow.
But the East healed me. And I'd say I came out of India 75% better
Wow.
than when I went into India. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. Wonderful country, wonderful experience. And kind of came back to an interesting time with a little bit of chaos. My job fell through. And then for various different reasons. So I was kind of scrambling a bit, and everything's back on track now. And everything's kind of moving along perfectly.
Yeah, that was a bit of
Yes.
intensity for you for a couple of weeks when you were
Yes.
uncertain as to what your future would hold.
Exactly. I did come back to chaos on some level, and it made me question a lot of things and my life completely and what I was doing and things. So the message is that you just have to persevere, and you have to believe, and you have to reach out. And support is everything. Support is absolutely everything. I'm so grateful for friends, family that support me through anything I do, because so many people in this world don't have support. And I don't care what you're trying to do. You can't get to anywhere without support. You need to have support, and good support around you. Even when you're making mistakes, you still need to have someone just there for you, believing in what you're doing, It's very important. So very grateful.
I think it's important for us to have people that we know we can count on, and that those people can count on us.
Absolutely.
Because so many times we use the word friends, and it's not always a one definition for friendship. Friendship can have many layers, right? And those of us in this room are connected along those lines. We have deep relationships. Winter, I may not see you as often as I'd love to, but we speak from the heart, and we connect. And I know that you can count on me, and that I can count on you for certain things. And that's what's most important, is that connection we have for people, and how that connection makes us better human beings. And what I've been doing, I think, the past several months is trying to find a new normal for me. And I think it started with Thanksgiving, right? I had to let go of this idea that we were going to have this huge banquet where everybody and their mother came, and that I was going to make the mashed potatoes, and that it was going to be this huge experience, because I realized I'm no longer in the household where that makes sense. And so I had to completely eradicate that notion and jettison it from my own sphere, and say, okay, maybe going to a restaurant with my aunt and our good friend, and it ended up that Tay and her significant other joined us at this table of plenty at a restaurant. And we had an amazing time, and we laughed and joked about, all sorts of topics. And I realized that's okay. That is a new normal. And what I've started to do is to really take an inventory and an accounting of the people in my life, to say, how can I be better to those people that are already meaningful and important in my life? And instead of trying to, find the next great best thing, it's not always the quest for the ultimate. I think it should be a quest for the special and the profound and the meaningful.
And we had a fabulous time. It was a wonderful evening.
Yeah, and Winter did an amazing party, and you got to go to it.
Absolutely, that
Winter,
was equally
by the
incredible.
way, is like one of the most esteemed,
The hostess with the
renowned
mostess.
hostess with the mostest. In terms of decor and preparation,
It was absolutely
it was
stunning.
peerless.
Thank you.
There's a lot of effort and a lot of love, which I think is also key, right?
Oh my God. So I just have to say about this party that I did something that I had never done and any of the parties that I'd had. And I have a Christmas party every year, and I've been having one for about 5 years, 5 or 7 years. And this year I asked for help. I never
wow.
asked for help before, right? I was doing everything. And my best friend, Shay, shout out to you because you made that party
Love Shay.
gorgeous.
Well done, Shay.
All the decor was her.
Oh my
wow.
God.
All the decor was her. She was like, Winter, we need to delegate. Delegate. And I was like, what? I got to do it all. Nope. But we delegated. She was decor. I was entertainment. I delegated, food to family members and friends and everybody. It was like a huge.
And everyone really came together.
You did my playlist.
That's right.
The most amazing freaking playlist ever that I listen to still at work.
You're very welcome.
I love that playlist.
Amazing. Thank you.
I mean, you had to like, and that's why it was so great. I would love to take like complete ownership of it and be like, yeah, that was another weekends with Winter event. No, that was all my
And can
my
I just
village
share
of
an
people.
observation? I
Yeah.
felt that you were absolutely in your element that entire evening. You were just the happiest bunny ever.
I was.
And I was very excited to meet your mother, who equally shared that observation with me. Just we were just kind of having a great time, and she was just telling me that she was just so happy for you and just being involved in this,
Yeah.
and that this is ultimately your thing. And sometimes I believe that we are destined for certain things. Certain things make people glow and shine, and really hosting a party
that's me.
like that is absolutely. So it's great to see people doing what they're best at.
Yeah.
It really is.
Thank you. And it gives me so much joy to do that. And I tell people every year, I spend money on this, but to me, it's not about the money. It's about, this is my gift to bring people together, to make them feel happy, to have these experiences, because when I die, I'm going to look back on that and be like, oh, remember that Winter Wonderland party and Tehu was there and my mom and, you think about all that, and that's what matters. So,
Yeah, you have an absolute gift for
and
putting
you
on a party.
came, I was totally drunk by that time, but I remember glimpses of it.
I showed up in like formal attire, and you just kept saying that I was so cute. It's like, oh, bless her.
That
heart.
is the key to Winter's drunk. If she says you're cute, and I keep saying, oh my God, you're so cute.
That's exactly what you said about 16 times.
Yeah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters out there, I think we had to have this moment of recollection and reminiscence about what has happened in our lives personally, and the joy and the meaningful encounters we've had, so that we can talk about what happened to our country on November 8th. In case you've been under a rock, on November 8th, the citizens of the United States of America, through the Electoral College, in the preponderance of 3 states of the Republic, decided to vote in Donald J. Trump as the 45th president of the Republic. And that night, starting around midnight, I think I was watching the results, I sort of knew, because you started to see it across the networks, and especially with Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid and several of those MSNBC folks, you started to see this pallor and anguish just completely set in. It was like they were watching. It's as if they were at the ER and everything started to turn south, and the lifeline literally went still.
That's an accurate description. To
And
the T.
that's
absolutely.
and guys, I had my dad in the hospital in 2015, and he passed away from a heart attack. And I remember the day we had a glorious day with him that Tuesday. But I remember that every time that machine had a crazy sound, my gut would literally cinch so much that I didn't know like what to do, and I had to leave and walk. And that's exactly the same way I felt on November 8th, especially after 10 p.m. Pacific time, because the results went overwhelmingly in Trump's direction. And I remember thinking to myself, no, North Carolina has to pull through. And it can't be that Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are going to go in this direction, because those three states are the bedrock of working class America. And in 2008 and 2012 voted overwhelmingly for Barack Hussein Obama. And I had to say the full name because that is a very Muslim sounding name to those that may not know too much about Islamic history, but they overlooked that fact and voted overwhelmingly for him. And here we were in 2016, and throughout the campaign, both Barack and Michelle and every member of the Democratic machine, of the Democratic Party machine, had basically campaigned on behalf of Hillary Clinton to say she is the heir apparent, she is the successor, she is the one that's going to continue this agenda. But what happened, I think, in my opinion, is she was not looked at as someone who is going to continue the vision and the leadership. It was just like, we're going to throw the basket or the hot potato in your lap or in your hands, and you're going to have to run with it. And a lot of people felt like she didn't have the wherewithal, the skill set, the stamina, and the ethical backbone, I think, is most important, to be able to deal with the hot potato. And that was very much evident. And on top of that, you had this demagogue who used satire and jokes and a lot of television tricks and tactics and slogans to convince a lot of people that he was going to change everything, and he was going to bring back prosperity and greatness. And to a lot of people that have been displaced by globalization and technological advancement, two very important forces for which we really don't have control, they felt like that was the solution, that someone who was very wealthy and powerful and charismatic could use all of those tactics and gambits that he had used in business and bring them to politics, and that it was going to be like Shangri-La, right?
So can I just add to that? One of the things which I thought Trump was extremely successful at was running a very successful campaign and operating from a fear tactic. And I'm not sure that the average, when you operate from a place of fear that already people are struggling with, and it comes from a place of anxiety, and somebody comes and they kind of deem you as the person that's going to relieve their anxiety, it's a very well-known, played-out strategy. And Trump operated from this place and reached out and kind of got the majority, got a lot of votes through this tactic. Can I also make a comparison that if you actually look back through history, there's a fabulous documentary called The Messiah Complex, and which focuses on Hitler, and Hitler did exactly the same thing. This is exactly how he came into power. I really recommend anybody who really wants to get an understanding of that to really watch that documentary. But it's a style, it's a particular strategy. And he had a fantastic campaign manager, that goes without saying.
The last one was Kellyanne Conway is the one that put him into shape, because the previous ones, especially Paul Manafort, was taking him down a really dangerous path, and he himself had really nasty ties to all sorts of corrupt governments worldwide, and that story came to light, and he had to let him go. And I think, what's so interesting, right, is this misogynist, this guy that believes in 1960s style of male female relationships and the power differential, chose a woman, mother of four, to really be the campaign strategist that actually turned everything around and got him the presidency. So it was a woman. He derided Hillary so much on the nasty woman, but it was actually a nasty woman herself that got him the
And what was very interesting is while all the debates and everything was going on, I wasn't actually in the U.S. I was out of the U.S. And it is fascinating when you are out of the U.S. among obviously non-Americans, you do hear their perspectives and you do hear what their views are. And I found it extraordinary that we would watch. I'd be watching this and literally looking on the U.S. going, what the hell is going on over there? Because particularly when you're out of the U.S., you really get a very different perspective. I mean, look, the material is the same, but your outlook is very different because you're in a very different country. You're not kind of in your own home. You're having other things which are kind of informing you as well. And it was very interesting to see what people out of America were saying about the election as well. Well, a lot of people were just in shock. And, it was almost becoming like the U.S. they kind of didn't really take it seriously. They kind of thought it was a joke, like this can't really be happening. They kind of thought it was kind of an overindulged reality show.
Right.
But when it became serious, people were really shocked out of the U.S.
One of the things that I think that we didn't take to heart, and this is after having talked to family members, friends, majority of them African American, some of them white, is how much distrust people had for Hillary Clinton. I think that it's very easy to say that Americans, we have all these theories, it's the demagogue theory, the, Hitler theory.
Yeah, I agree. The distrust broke her campaign.
The distrust really broke her campaign, whereas Obama was able to galvanize and get people to the polls. A lot of people, in the end, once Donald Trump was named as our president, and I saw Facebook react, and I saw and heard people react, on other social media mediums, I didn't trust either of them, so I didn't even go out and vote, which pissed me off. I got into so many heated arguments and stopped talking to family members because their whole thing was, I'm not voting for Hillary because I don't trust her. Her husband's tactics, for Black people especially. Black people look at Hillary Clinton as one of the main reasons why our men are incarcerated at the rate that they are right now. You have that 3 strikes law that still hurts our men to this day.
Right. It was under his presidency. And so there are a lot of people who are now aware and feeling the wrath and the results of that, in this prison system economy that did not want to put their vote in for Hillary. And so whereas Obama, like I said, galvanized a lot of African Americans stayed home because they didn't even want to vote for her. Or you had a lot of people that were like, I'm going to vote for the Green Party, even though it makes no difference. Even though I know someone from the main party is going to win, I'm going to vote that one vote because ultimately, maybe if more of us did that, we would have more of a say in who's going to be our president, and it won't just be about a Democrat or a Republican. So you had all of these people who were making a stand against the authority and the system, So I think that we can have theories about Donald Trump and why, America voted for him, but at the end of the day, there were so many different factors. Right.
And we can't take out the Hillary factor.
I think you're absolutely right. She had so much baggage, and I didn't think it helped that Bill Clinton got on that plane with Loretta Lynch because there was an ongoing investigation at the time, and everyone felt like there was the height of nepotism and unethical behavior for the ex-president to get on the plane and talk to the attorney general about an ongoing case. Whether that happened or not, we all know in communication that perception is more important than reality, and if it looks crooked, people are going to interpret it as crooked. And I think there were a lot of unanswered questions that I think She should have definitely been a lot more transparent and said, this is the reality. This is why things happened. But, there was a lot of baggage, which I think Obama did not have, right? He did not have, they tried to unearth so many things. That Unity Trinitarian Church speech with the then pastor, right, maybe could have hurt him. But in the long run, he said, you know what, that was my pastor's view, not my personal view. And a lot of times we go to churches and we have, leaders that speak on the behalf of the doctrine, but they're not necessarily representing our view. So that's fine. But I think very importantly, or not importantly, but to the actual numbers game, Jill Stein did absolutely hurt her in those 3 states and in Florida, right? If you looked at the numbers, if all of the votes that went to the third party had gone to Hillary Clinton, she would have won Florida, she would have won Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and we would be talking about the next president of the United States being Hillary Rodham Clinton. That did not happen because I think, and we're going to talk about this. This is a little teaser. We're going to talk about this topic in a few episodes, but millennials, especially because of their great desire to have impact and because they feel like they know so much because they've always been told that they're great, felt like they were making this, choice and to stick it to the establishment, that this was their God-given right to assert their powers as citizens, and said, no, I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And to a lot of younger feminists, her trajectory represents something that is not always on the right side of history when it comes to feminist politics. They feel like she has, to some extent, compromised, right? And so she hasn't been pure, etc. Now, all of this to say, we are where we are now, and we cannot avoid the topic of Russian hacking. And I say we can't avoid that because this is another government that hacked one of our institutions, which is a crime, and put information out there that hurt a candidate. And there was a specific targeted campaign to ruin her image. And then the FBI didn't help, right? So it was it was literally sabotage to the highest degree. And I think it's important for us to say to our listeners and to remind ourselves that is not okay. That was criminal activity, and it offends me that we are not more incensed as a people that a foreign government that has never had our best interests at heart has harmed us now and is harming our democratic institutions, because this incoming cabinet is going to be highly destructive of democratic politics. So I want to hear your views before I get more, riled up.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
For one, I completely 100% agree with you, Alex. I think that if we talk to why people aren't riled up right now, I think that hacking has been such the norm for us in these technical times. Mm-hmm. And I think people are a little people are numb to it almost these days. Mm-hmm. And I think what they feel is if you're not doing any dirt, then why should anything come to light? If, the Russians are bringing forth knowledge about a specific incident that the American people should know, then don't do the dirt. That will make it so that if you get hacked, information is going to come out. So I think that's a part of the reason why people aren't riled up. What were you going to say?
No, I think that's valid. I think it's become normalized. When Sony got hacked, they're like, "Oh, are you back to normal?" Yeah. I said, "No, it's gonna take us 18 months to get back to a relative new normal."
Yeah.
But nothing is ever going to be the same. And I think in this particular case, it's not going to be the same because it is irreversible and completely, destructive. So,
and yeah. I think you also, when you talk about Russia, it's just this big bad boogeyman that has always kind of been out there, and I don't know if people realize, the severity of what's going on right now. And I think that it's hard for people to see the truth in, whether this hacking thing is valid, is something to be scared of, because I also think the media, plays this story up so much to make something big and bad and scary, and people don't see anything, any fear, any real repercussion from the big bad monster. So we've been talking about Russia for years and years and years, but nothing's ever happened, And I think that we also have this inflated ego in America that nothing's going to happen to us. We're stronger than that. It's just this narrative that I think we play in our heads,
So that's really interesting. I do want to comment on the inflated ego, because when I was out of the U.S. and people were commenting on what was going on with the elections in the U.S., particularly as I was more in the Eastern world, this is something, the inflated ego and the sense of entitlement, unfortunately, that Americans have. I don't think they're aware how much it works against them until they actually come out of the U.S. because, the U.S. is a very new country. 240 years of history is nothing compared to the rest of the world. You have countries who have thousands and thousands of years of history, particularly the eastern part of the world, Middle East, Asia, that whole continent is very old. They have old-rooted traditions and dynasties and very prolonged histories. It's even older than Western Europe, So the U.S. is just a baby on the global spectrum, really. So I think it's so interesting when the sense of entitlement where America always feels that they're correct and they're right, and this very kind of insular thinking, because other countries have been around longer, many more years, and unfortunately, when Americans go abroad, they bring with them a little bit of that. And it's not until they encounter people from other countries, older countries, that very politely kind of say, it's not, we've done this. Whatever you're going through, we've been through this as a country. We've done it a lot more than you. We have a lot more experience at this. So why don't you kind of sit and reflect a bit and see what we're doing over here, learn something. But that's not the perspective a lot of people go with. It was very interesting. I had that actually brought to my attention a couple of times, that even a lot of times Americans think that they're right about a lot of things. Instead, they actually should just be listening and observing. They might learn something somewhere else, which is, a little extreme, but at the same time, it does give you a perspective that you are taught that everything is great and wonderful in the U.S. and that you're number one. Yet other countries have a lot more experience and have gone through a lot more than you and maybe more versed.
And in essence, we aren't number one. We aren't, right?
Well, we're number one in some in military might, in the production of wealth, etc. But
number one in work ethic, folks. No one works harder than the U.S. does. That's 1,000,000%.
Right.
Sure, I can vouch for that personally.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the world works as hard as the U.S.
But I mean, and we are hardworking people, and here is the thing that I think has really been at the core, at the crux of the matter. Hard work is an ethic that is really rooted in working class America. And for a very long time, I think you had presidents that necessarily did not come from the wealthiest echelons of society. They were maybe middle class and had worked their way up through college to this level of superiority or prestige. So you take Barack Obama, for example, or you take Michelle Obama's story, and these are people that were born into relative poverty or, just working class households and worked their way up to the elite through hard work and perseverance and education.
And I think this is where actually America is great, because after particularly seeing what happened with the election, I believe that anything is possible in the U.S. I really do. I don't think things can hinder you or slow down your progress a little, but anything is possible. I really do believe that. And I think America's very good at that, compared to other countries again.
Right. But where I'm going with this is working class values, I think, are highly steeped in religious values, right? There is something about being ethical, about not lying, about, you know, doing a really good job,
Being a good person.
and getting ahead with work alone, but not with criminal tactics. And I think what people don't realize is when you have somebody that is a billionaire, they did not get there on ethics. There is so much white crime, and I mean with lower W. There's a lot of crime that happens when you are a person that invests in money, because you get a lot of insider trading, which is prohibited by our rules. But so many guys, because it's so tough to prosecute them, they cheat, lie, and steal their way to the top. And this is what this man has done. This man is the sort of like the king of con artists. You know, he takes money and then he puts it into a business. It completely bankrupts, but he finds a way of making, you know, a profit. And at the end, the people that were with him are the ones that suffer.
So this is precisely one of my biggest pet peeves with Trump at the moment, is that he is viewed as a very successful, wealthy businessman, which people admire. However, no one seems to be questioning about the tactics or the means of how he's got into that position, because that's not deemed important or valuable. The message that sends out is hideous to the world. Absolutely hideous. It means the moral compass and the ethical code and values of these
That is my
nature
point.
is thrown out and disregarded massively. So because he's successful, because he's made it, because he's financially prosperous and wealthy and a billionaire, nothing else seems to matter. When the hell did that become such an important criteria where you can disregard everything else? I have a serious issue with
Well,
that.
it's always been an important criteria. I mean, I think that we worship wealth and the winner more than we think about the pathway and how they got there. No one
100%.
cares about the story. They just care about how it ended up and what does the wealth mean and what does it look like. And, you know, he has enough money and people to shit shine a turd, for lack of a better term. You know, it's just, it's why reality TV
That's
stars
tragic,
are
yeah.
so, you know, why we can look at the Kardashians and think that they are really, you know, dynamic
Special.
and special. You know, it's what we've built our value system on.
I think, you know, I realized I was just on a trip and I did a lot of reflecting, and I'm like, reality television has really been the opiate of the masses.
Reality television got us our next president.
But that's what I'm saying. It is literally the destruction. I was thinking, and now I think I'm going to
the
go on
devil.
this. Now I'm going to go on this whole like veto thing with Bravo, because I realize, you know, the depiction of black women, for example, on that frickin' network is deplorable. Because not every black person is either one of those characters.
Yeah. Are you specifically talking to the Real Housewives?
The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Or the Shahs of Sunset.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Another perspective on
Exactly.
Persian people
I'm
in
like-
Los Angeles.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but not a single woman on that show. They might be fabulous, and you know, it's and I celebrate that aspect of being an amazing black woman. But once I started analyzing how the producers sort of etch the stories and carve out the end result, I'm like, this is a horrible depiction of what it means to be black, or what it means to be a housewife from Orange County or from Melbourne or whatever. This is a stupid version.
Or Persian.
Of what it means to be anybody.
What it means to be Persian in Los Angeles, calling yourself the Shahs of Sunset.
Yes. How, like, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, would Winter be cast as a member of this group? I'm like,
I would be so boring and they would kick me out.
right, but boring is normal.
Yeah.
Boring is what
It
makes
is.
America like the mundane aspect of getting up every day, putting our great game face on, and working hard at our jobs is what makes things tick. It is not brunch. It is not getting your hair done. It is not a quarrel with my baby daddy and the baby daddy's mama and all that kind of stuff. That is such meaningless bullshit. It produces nothing. It doesn't make us more intelligent. It doesn't make us question our leaders. It doesn't make us become better people and do some introspection and some
No, it
self-awareness.
absolutely does not. And that's what as people are aspiring to. Those are the role models, folks, out there. That's what people want to be. That's
And
what
they
they're
are
trying to
hideous
be.
role models.
They are. They're terrible role models.
And let me not get started where there are no Latino role models on television that I'm like, oh my God, I want to be like that person.
And especially for young people coming up in this world, and they're looking at this and wanting to be these people, not realizing there's a glam squad, not realizing it's scripted, not realizing all of these things, aspiring to that. It's sad.
And just the fact that it's like a housewife, which means that your prestige and power technically didn't come from you. It came from your husband. So then, so all this
Which
to say-
negates all the women's rights
Yeah,
stuff that we
right.
fought for
So-
years.
so
to
we
be
ask
considered
ourselves,
equal,
why is it that all these women put up with the misogyny from this man who is now a president? And it's because we are somehow misogynistic in our reality TV consumptions. We call each other bitches. We call each other hoes. We call each other blah, 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 blah. Everything that is pejorative about women is suffused all over reality television.
Darling, surely you don't do that, though.
I don't, but, but by me consuming that, I just realized by me consuming that, I am sort of perpetuating it and supporting it in one way or another. And I realized, I was really angry at Andy Cohen because I said to myself, you sit there in this high pedestal in your luxurious Manhattan apartment and you surround yourself with all these people that you've helped make wealthy, but in the end you have hurt the American people. And you want to blame all these other entities and jurisdictions, etc. But we have allowed ourselves to think, even like white folks on television these days, they're not the most exemplary characters either.
Yeah.
Not at all.
We have let depictions of ourselves as Americans on television go to the gutter.
Well, really, it's a formula, right? In reality TV, you're going to see one of these things, and it's going to gather more viewers. You have to have an argument. Thank God if it turns physical, because everyone's going to be watching that, right? You have to have an opulent lifestyle. So you have to have something that's going to make people want to watch and view and be a voyeur. You also have to have some type of weird dynamic, the Honey Boo Boo dynamic, the Honey Boo Boo thing where people are like, oh my God, I've only heard about these people. I've never really seen them. It's something that, is a fable, almost like, oh, they're really people like this. Let me be a voyeur into their lives. You have to have an attractive person, right? Somebody that's going to pull you in and make you look at them like, oh, I want to be like that. And I think these are all formulas of just where we are in terms of our priorities and our values as Americans. And I had to tell myself, and this was probably about 7 years ago, that I had to cut out all reality TV that had anything to do with physical fights. I couldn't watch it because I was like all into the Bad Girls Club and all into like the Love and Hip Hops, and all those would turn physical. And after I would watch it, I would feel so anxious and angry. And I would like go on social media and talk about it and get in arguments with people. And it was just like, really, and I was internalizing it, how you're kind of talking about how you're looking at reality TV now. I was internalizing it. And I said to myself, I am not going to watch any more reality TV that has fighting.
Well, when you engage with crap, it affects you.
It affects you.
It affects you. So speaking as a mental health therapist, I seriously believe that reality television is one of the main causes of depression and unhappiness and anxiety in a lot of people, because I sit with people on a regular basis and I hear their personal stories. And a lot of times, if that's what they're watching, that's what they're consuming, that's what they're engaging, it's affecting them. And they fail to realize that all of that is not real. It's not authentic. It's all staged. And, if you start putting those people on a pedestal, you are going to be unhappy.
And then throw in social media, social media where you can recreate who
It's not
you
authentic.
are.
Absolutely.
We have so many avenues of
Reinvention.
things that look like reality but really aren't.
Yes.
No,
So,
filters.
filters.
Starting with filters.
Yeah.
And all of this to say,
I'm not against a filter though, honey. A good filter always
The
works.
quest for perfection continues.
but all this to say is we let ourselves through this past. And I'm going to say this to her again. Oprah Winfrey leaving national television has been really detrimental.
Yeah, I hear
and
you.
I people think I'm crazy when I say that.
Yeah.
But when we lose a national arbiter who brings us to the table and says, let's discuss this like adults. Let's not get into fights. Let's have real
We've lost
discussion.
that.
We have lost the art of good discussion because we're mired in crap called reality television.
Hey man, when you first said that, I looked at you and I was like, what you talking about? How is Oprah our savior? And when you said that, I was like, oh my God, you're so right. What show do we have now that brings these different viewpoints to the table where we can discuss it civilly?
And where white suburban women come and discuss openly. Because Oprah Winfrey was most successful with suburban
She was.
white women
She was.
from the Midwest. Oh, by the way, this is the part of the country where
Trump.
shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Right? Because we lost our national arbiter.
Yeah.
So, Oprah Winfrey, if you are listening to us, which I'm sure you eventually will 5 years from now, girl, you need to get back to you need to get back to that platform because I think she's lost in this her own network. To be pun intended. She's lost, and I think, or maybe it's not Oprah, but we need people that
We need a
can
type of Oprah to come back.
to bring the discussion back to a place of civility and real talk.
But don't forget, Oprah was also incredibly intelligent and valued intellect and was able to engage on an emotional level with people and also intellectually. It's a hard combination to find. And I'm not sure, it's not that there's not qualified people. I'm not sure
Well,
anybody
Ellen
wants to
DeGeneres
step
needs
up.
to stop with the banality of just interviewing celebrities and dancing. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
how
we
is
need
that
to,
helpful?
because she has
not
that
helpful.
audience. She has that audience, and she has the respect. And she did something very meaningful for LGBTQ people in 1994 by coming out. I think it was 1997. Sorry, it was huge. It was huge. She can do that again, or there has to be a person or persons that have that national stature that could say, let's talk about what's really going on, and let's bring it to the level of where are the jobs, where are the training, where is the training, where are the opportunities for people that feel like they have nowhere to go, what can they do, and to incentivize our entrepreneurs and inventors to come up with strategies that are going to employ people. And how do we get from point A to point B? Because I'm sorry, we're not going to bring back manufacturing.
And just to,
It's too expensive.
right. And to piggyback off of that, as you're saying this, we need a person, we need an Oprah type. And I don't think that person is a famous movie star in the media.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
No, I agree. I don't think it should be, actually.
no. And I think
I think that
that
sends the wrong message.
with the onset of shows like this where people can create and talk in a living room and blogs and people can go online and express their feelings, even with the onset of a Tommy Lauren, who can get on a wide stage, go toe to toe with oh God, what's the guy's name? Jon Stewart's replacement. What's his name? Jon Stewart's replacement. Trevor Noah. Thank you. Trevor Noah.
Oh, the South African guy, yes.
Yes. Can have, this back and forth and really start from like the basement of her apartment or her home and then have this public platform. The thing is, Oprah opened the door for these ideas, but we, the people, through these avenues of connection, as much as they piss us off, as much as social media can be both the devil and the angel, it is going to be us who starts those conversations. I think that it starts, yes, annoyingly so, in, the comments of a picture or a video, but some people feel galvanized and revolutionized by that. And then they say, I need to help in this way, shape, or form. So I think that you're right 100%, but I think that we all, listeners out there, the conversation starts like this.
This is why we have both of you on the show, because you're really good segue people. But, so the segue, Winter, is to talk about what we do next.
Yes.
And I think Obama, in his farewell address, which was tear-jerking for me, because I realized we had the death of a political father, and that we were mourning as a country because we realized we weren't going to have Daddy in the White House to sort of allay our fears and trepidations, that we now had to be grown-ups and deal with our stepdad and have to negotiate with him for 4 years until something happened.
That's a great analogy.
Right? He basically told us that we had to be good citizens. And one thing that he said is, if you're upset, get a clipboard, gather signatures, and run for office yourself. Or if you're tired of arguing with someone on social media, meet them in person. So I think that one thing that, and we're going to discuss this as the board of Ethnically Correct after the show, but I think one thing that we can do, for example, is just start inviting people to have conversation with us that want to have maybe we don't do it in this living room for privacy and security reasons, but maybe we have public forums where we moderate conversations and we start engaging people to say, what do you have to offer? What is it that you want to pose to us as questions of us as people of ethnicity?
I think what you're also saying is also just to be proactive, like stop with the complacency. Like Obama was saying, if you have a problem and you're dealing with online, was it bullying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're having a problem with that, then get up and make a change and speak up and communicate face to face. Why are you hiding behind the social media?
Yeah. And I think it's having the conversations. I mean, this weekend, this man from Indiana, who it was a Caucasian man, saw my bracelet that says Black Lives Matter. And that sparked a 45-minute conversation. It did not, we were on a certain app and we were not necessarily going to just converse, right? We were going to possibly do other things. But this bracelet spawned a 45-minute conversation. And I think he actually did listen to my point of view. And he said, you know what, I had never heard somebody espouse the ideas just the way you did. And I think I have a lot to think about.
That's the problem right there. People haven't heard the other side. They haven't heard the opinions of people from important
but nuanced
groups,
and respectful. And I said, and I had to tell him, my story of where I grew up and how I see different sides. And I'm not black, but I can see both the black and white side and understand that the truth lies somewhere in the middle, that there's no one side that is right.
Having multiple perspectives.
Yeah, everybody has something to bring to the table, because what they do is they bring their experience as a prism through which they see the world.
Correct.
And that's really important.
Yes.
Well, and what's also very important is you, our listeners, and we love you and we thank you for giving us the opportunity to come back with a bang in 2017. We're so excited and thrilled to bring many more topics to your table, such as millennials and how to deal with them in the workplace, and to talk about interracial relationships and what it means to be an interracial couple in 2017 and going forward. So please stay tuned. We're going to update our Facebook page, which is Ethnically Correct. And we're not as active on Twitter, but you can still find us there at Ethnic Correct. For Daniel Howes, our producer, and Tehu Smythe, and Winter White from Santa Monica, California, and Alex Venegas, take care and God bless.